Hey, Gavin.
Hi, Louie.
How's it going?
It is as good as can be expected. I feel like I said that for the last episode too, but I feel like that's my way of staying positive.
You know what, Gavin? We're drinking. Your hair is long and in your face. Those luscious
so
locks.
In my face.
Okay, listen. Can I just talk about this for 1 second? I have the just the fewest amount of locks on my head. I just watched Con Mucho Mucho Amor, the Walter Mercado documentary, and all I could think of was, man, he's got so much hair and he's 87.
Yeah.
I have so little and I'm 33. 32? 30? I can't remember. I truly can't. It's one of those two.
You don't look a day over 40. But
you have the balding head of a 45-year-old.
But hey, Patrick Stewart just turned 80 today, and he's very bald. So
he's very bald. Yeah.
Yeah.
Goals.
And he's handsome. So
yeah, him and Tucci are my bald-headed goals. You know what? God doesn't give us both hands. Unless
he gave you that beautiful contralto voice.
I wish I was a contralto. I'm a soprano. I don't know. I truly could not tell you what. I was a marching band nerd for so long. All I can play for you is the bassoon. Anyway, welcome everyone to the Mixed Reviews.
Hi there. We are a film podcast in which we take a subject such as an actor, a director, or a mini genre, and we talk about the entire history of it, and then we tell you what's good and what's not so good.
Yeah, we take those reviews, and honey, they are mixed.
Oh yeah, we put them in a magic bullet. We just get them all mixed up.
I
actually magic bullets too.
I'm more of like a ninja. You know?
Oh yes, correct.
The House of Ninja.
House famously. Of Ninja.
Famously.
Iconic House of Ninja. Louis Ninja.
Louis Ninja. Oh, that's kind of fun. Yes, and we are still doing our deep dive exploration of Black Hollywood, which started 2 episodes ago.
3.
Oh, that's right. 3 episodes ago with Miss Angela Bassett. We then did Spike Lee. Last episode we did Halle Berry. This is a very special episode where we asked you guys to vote on who we were covering. So you guys already know who we're talking about. We're talking about Miss Queen Latifah. But before we get to her, Gavin, we got some old business.
We do have some old business. Some very fresh old business.
Mm-hmm. The business, she's not that old. She's garden fresh.
Yeah, she's looking great.
We asked you guys to go online and vote for your favorite Halle Berry movie. And here are the results. Frankie and Alice came in at 14%. Monsters Ball came in at 17%. My pick, Baps, came in at 26%. And then Gavin's pick, again, you are on a roll. Things We Lost in the Fire, 43%, first place.
Can I tell you, Louis, I was shocked. And I'll be honest, I did the first 2 days this poll was up, no one had voted Things We Lost in the Fire except for me. And I didn't campaign. I was like, listen, it's Baps. God has picked Baps. He has ordained.
Gavin, I don't believe you for 1 second. You sneaky, sneaky, sneaky sneak. You love to see me
my underground legions, my fives of fans.
Your fives of fans that just love Things You Lost in the Fire.
Hey, friends, who wants to get weepy this weekend? Come on over. Watch Things We Lost in this Fire.
Yeah, everyone loves that. Meanwhile, I'm just watching Baps alone.
Yeah.
Now, we both are very good. We definitely had some mixed reviews on Monsters Ball. I think we both thought that Frankie and Alice was really good.
Yes.
But thank you guys for voting. Thank you guys for listening. Halle Berry, I think one of our more very mixed episodes. She's such a up and down kind of girl.
Yeah, I definitely, clearly my opinion changed of her. I went in thinking she does a lot of frivolous movies, whatever. And then I came out of it being no, she's actually a very good actor. And she's been really sort of fucked over by the system that once lauded her with praise. I
think it's interesting, kind of edging our way over to Queen Latifah. doing them back to back was kind of interesting. Well, first of all, they both have done movies that famously have topless scenes, and I thought there was such a different way that they were handled.
Yes.
I think also Queen Latifah, from a very young age, took control of her career, and the way that it was going to, like, every single thing she does, she is, you know, at the top of the list, in charge of, as opposed to where Halle Berry feels like she really tried her best to play the game, and it wasn't until later in her career when, God, who am I thinking of? You said that told her that she needs to like make her own projects.
Warren Beatty, yeah.
Queen Latifah, it feels like, you know, there was only a handful of movies that I'm sure we saw where her name is not on there as an executive producer.
Right. And the interesting thing is she got that advice really young from her mom. Her mom was a huge part of, and we're going to get into this in the rewind, but her mom is a huge part of her foundation as an artist in terms of how she handled her money and how she picked projects and the introducing her to the right people.
You know, my mother knows her kids, and she's watched this develop in me. She introduced me to the DJ who would become my producer, as a matter of fact, because my mother was a high school teacher and a class advisor. So when they had like fundraisers, she hired the DJs for the party, you know, and that DJ went on to be my first producer. And so I think my mother was just in touch with the pulse of the youth and what was going on. And she encouraged and supported, you know, the youth. And my partner, Shakim, he was one of her students as well. So she got what was happening. She saw this thing happening, probably the way rock and roll happened, you know, in her day. And she was the one who actually opened up my first account with Merrill Lynch. She opened up accounts for my partner and I both, and was like, oh no, we need to make sure your money is over here. So again,
yes,
she helped us out.
Which is not to say that her mother was connected. She was just a very smart businesswoman and a person who realized the talent that her daughter had and never told her, oh, you can't do this. Right. But was like, you can do this, but I'm going to keep an eye on it.
It almost feels like Queen Latifah has always seen her career as a business. She's always seen her, you know, whether singing, acting, all the other side projects she's doing, it's all business. Halle Berry, I think, was a little more naive, and she was trying to just like do the art for the art of it. She was never interested in, you know, the business side of it. Whereas Queen Latifah was approaching it in a way broader scope, bigger picture.
Which is not to say that Queen Latifah is like all serious all the time. In going through the interviews for this episode and trying to find the right sound bites, one of the great things is that she's so alive. She's so animated and so fun and so likable, and she wants people to like her, but not in a way that feels desperate or
she's not a tryhard.
No, not at all. She's just silly and friendly, and I don't know. I fell in love with the Queen Latifah who I could see in the interviews, and I was just like, oh, she just seems like a genuinely chill, fun person.
Yeah, she's like immediately a star, and she has that. I mean, she's a beautiful woman, but from the inside, you can see her when she's on screen. I kept thinking, I was like, is she a stand-up comedian? Because she's so funny. But she's funny. She's not like a classically trained comedian or anything. But I mean, the clips of her on SNL are so good. She has that same thing that Melissa McCarthy has. That same like inner star that just like oozes out of her pores. And no matter if it's her singing or it's acting, when she's doing serious comedy, it's just always there. It's that special something. And I think that's the reason why she was the overwhelming winner for our poll about who we were going to do for this episode. She's the queen.
And why don't we get into the rewind?
Queen Latifah was born Dana Elaine Owens, and she was born in Newark, New Jersey. And it's so funny. Literally, I was watching, I think it was Hairspray with Derek, and I said, wasn't Queen Latifah born in Newark? And he's like, I don't know. And I looked it up. I was like, she was. How did I know that? I don't know. I think she exudes this kind of like tri-state kind of like vibe. I think she also very much like in her music and her career, like she's always kind of, I mean, I was looking up old videos of her on MTV, and she fully, like, she had just broken through. She like managed video rental stores and like was an entrepreneur, businesswoman. It blew my mind. She's literally like, yeah, and their whole gag, I'm getting so ahead of myself, but it's so fun. The whole gag of her video to go store was that they would deliver the videos you wanted to rent to your house.
See, we come to people's houses at Videos to Go. So we deliver, but if you don't bring your movie back on time, we'll come to your house and get it.
So she invented Netflix.
She invented Netflix.
Cool.
So Queen Latifah, I hope she got those royalties, honey.
Exactly. She owns 51% of this company.
Yes. So yes, she was born in Newark, but she primarily lived and grew up in East Orange, New Jersey, which I believe is South Jersey.
I don't know geography of Jersey, baby. No, I'm the wrong person to ask.
New Jersey, I'm so sorry, sweetie. We don't know you.
No, we do not. You're there. We know it.
We can see you, girl.
Yeah.
You keep doing your thing.
Exactly. We'll just watch from afar. Keep it up.
Dana, who and to this day, when Queen Latifah goes to interviews, she introduces herself as Dana. You know, like I was reading all these magazine profiles, and she's like, "Hey, I'm Dana," and I just think that's so like she's so humble. So yeah. She doesn't take herself. I mean, to give yourself the name of Queen Latifah, that's your stage name. But she doesn't,
I read in one of those interviews that she gave herself Queen because she didn't want to call herself like MC or DJ.
Right.
And I love that. I love that she's like, oh yeah, like MC, DJ. No, thank you.
No.
Queen
Latifah. She is the daughter of Rita LeMay, who was, I believe, an art teacher at Irvington High School, and Lancelot Amos Owens, what a name, Lancelot, who was a police officer. She went to a Catholic girls' high school in Irvington, but she graduated from Irvington High School. She often describes her childhood as very normal. She said that they weren't poor, but they weren't rich. Her parents, she loved them very much. They got divorced when she was 10 years old. She was best friends with her older brother. They would go to church. It was a very normal life. She was, her grandma was always around. There was nothing kind of too out of the ordinary, I think you might say, for her childhood. I've heard two different stories about how she got her name. I've read that a cousin named her Latifah, but I've also read and listened to like mini bio docs on her that she found the name Latifah in a book of Arabic names when she was really young. But I also have read that she had a Muslim cousin who started calling her Latifah.
Oh, interesting. Okay, because I was gonna say I've heard her say in interviews that she.
What did she say?
Just that she named herself, like not bring up the cousin.
A cousin.
But I mean that's all conjecture. That could easily be the truth as well. And it could just be part of the story that she's cutting out for time.
Right. I mean, I definitely have heard her say, that it means delicate. And she thought it was really, beautiful. And so she took the moniker on. She was always a bigger woman. She has said, she's like, I knew I was never going to be skinny. I was never going to be looking like other girls. But the support and love from her family.
I think some of the most important things that I've learned are some of the things that I learned growing up. And it's all of the values that my parents instilled in me and the constant feeding of self-esteem, high self-esteem, and working on your confidence and self-love. All those things are extremely important, and they carry you, and faith in God. Those things have carried me throughout my career.
She was a tomboy. She loved playing basketball. She loved, playing with the boys. And that was just her truth and who she was.
It's so funny. Because she always seems so tall on screen as well, that the finding out, which is tall for a woman, but finding out she's only 5'10", I was like, oh, I'm taller than Queen Latifah.
Right. I was like,
that shocked me. Like,
she's an inch taller than me and like a couple shorter than you. She's the medium of us.
Yes. You put us together, you get Queen Latifah.
Yeah.
I've said it for years.
That is the
I'm
equation.
saying it now.
She was always singing as a child in church and stuff. She performed in the musical The Wiz while she was in school. And so she was a very musical person. She attended the Borough of Manhattan Community College after high school, but she quickly kind of just like leaves that behind. And I cannot express enough that how quickly she pivoted to focusing on music.
Yeah.
And she fucking did it.
My second job was at a record store called The Wiz, and I was selling my own record. Like, it was vinyl at that time, and I was 7 years old when my first single came out. And people would come in the store and ask for my record. And it was like, that's me, right? It would be funny, and they're like, huh, this is you? And I'm like, yeah, you want me to sign it for you? It was kind of a joke. I'm 17, And then I started college at BMCC, Borough Manhattan Community College. And then I left school. I left because I was like, these records are starting to play on the radio, and I'm starting to get shows offers, and I need to really focus my attention on this career, this rap career, and I'm gonna put everything I have into it. So I had a conversation with my mom. I said, Mom, I want to take a year off from college, and I'm gonna put 100% into this career, this rap thing. And if it doesn't work, I promise you I'll go back to school.
And she was, hanging around with this group called Ladies Fresh, which was she was beatboxing for. And she was just, hanging around with all these people. She gave a demo to Fab Five Freddy, who was the host of Yo MTV Raps, if you don't remember her. And that demo got the attention of Tommy Boy Music. And so they signed her pretty quickly. And she might have been 17 at the time when she had started.
Yes.
That. But can you imagine, you just have finished high school, you dabble in college, and you say, nope. So her first album comes out in 1989, and she just immediately kind of is gaining recognition and notice for her, not only her rap stylings, of course, but also what she's rapping about.
Yeah,
she's
the content.
She's talking about women's rights and feminism and, unity and the community. She's very in tune with her community. She loves that she's from Newark and Jersey. And she also, I heard her say, she's like, I first started singing, but rap was my soul. Rap was what brought me to life. And her parents were very supportive. They were like, oh, she's pretty good at this, and she can get down. She's burning through, albums. And it's in this time, early on in her career, she suffers a pretty big tragedy in her brother passing away. She gifted him a motorcycle after she's seeing success from her career. She gifts him a motorcycle, and they loved riding around together. He was a police officer as well. He had followed in the footsteps of his father. And he gets in a wreck and he dies. And she is just, grief stricken. She feels like she gave him this motorcycle. And he died riding it.
It leads her to a really dark place. And actually, she ends up having a very brief drug addiction, which she's talked about a tiny bit. But it seems like she was able to move beyond that pretty fast. But still, that's a scary place to be. She actually ends up taking the key from his motorcycle and putting it around a chain, and she continues to wear that key around her neck through the early part of the 90s. You can see it in a lot of her red carpets, and you can see it in basically every episode of Living Single.
Having lost my brother when I was 22 years old, one of the closest people in my entire life, when that happens to you and you can't even make a fist because you've lost the strength in your hands. I have faith, but I questioned a whole lot of things. I questioned so many things. I questioned God. I needed to understand why this happened. Why would this happen?
Yeah, she said that, she was just trying to numb the pain and not feel things. She wrote, I think, her an album, Black Rain, and she said it was just all about her brother, and that was her getting all this grief out. She ends up winning a Grammy for a song on that album,
Unity.
Yes, Unity, and it's
which I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but Unity is the jam. Like, that is, when I was a little kid, like, that's who I knew Queen Latifah was, even before, like, Living Single and everything. It was like UNITY, Unity.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's funny, I found so many interviews with her of people that were like, you know, when I was a little kid, I loved Unity. And one of my favorite was Raven Simonier was like...
Not Raven Simonier!
Yeah, she was like, I met you when I was like on the... We did an episode of Hanging with Mr. Cooper together. And I met you and I started rapping Unity at you. And my mom was like, don't you dare say bitch. And she was like, but I have to. It's in the lyrics.
Living Single is also about to get picked up. And so she talks about how like her career and her professional life was really taking off, but her personal life was kind of in the dumps. She gets, like we talked about in the Spike Lee episode, her first film moment is in Jungle Fever. And it's a very quick scene as a waitress.
Yeah, she's a waitress who is very pressed that Wesley Snipes has brought a white woman to a black restaurant.
Not on her watch.
Do you have a problem?
Yes, I do have a problem, to be honest with you. Fake, tired brothers like you coming in here, that's so typical. I can't even believe you brought her stringy hair ass up here to eat.
Oh, let me tell you something. First of all, Miss Al
Why
Sharpton, you don't have, it's not your business who I bring in here.
Somewhere else, okay?
It's not your business. You are a waitress. Your job is to wait.
Halle Berry's first film was also Jungle Fever. Jungle Fever gave us so much.
Wow. This was not on purpose.
Yeah.
So she does Jungle Fever. She gets Living Single. This is also around the time where she was the victim of a carjacking that really shook her up. She gets pulled over and she has some weed on her. She, also has a gun on her. It's a lot of a lot of turmoil happening in her life. And this is around the time where she kind of, decides to get rid of all of that stuff, and she finds God, essentially. Like, long story short, to this day, she's very faith oriented.
Yeah, I found a lot of interviews with her where she talks about her faith. It's very important to her, and if you find something that works, more power to you.
Yeah.
Does that sound cynical of me? Because it is. I'm sorry, but yeah, no, good for her.
Yeah. So Jungle Fever happens in 91, and this is like from 91 to like 95, I'd say, where Living Single is on. Gavin, I'm assuming you've seen Living Single.
Yes, I've seen so much of Living Single, though I had not seen any of the last season, the 5th season, and I watched the finale today just as like, what happened? And I was so confused. 2 of the characters weren't there, and yeah, I was just like, I don't know.
I had never seen an episode of Living Single. Yes, but I did. I watched 6 episodes, and then I was like, I need to stop right now. Thank you very much.
That was a 3-hour movie.
Yeah, I was like, well, I'm done with that. I think it's really fucking good, and it's really funny. I think the women on that show, just like, so good.
Why does this keep happening to me?
Because you keep looking for someone to carry you.
Well, what's wrong with that?
They keep dropping your ass.
I am shocked at how well it aged. I watched a bunch of episodes in preparation for this just because I hadn't seen it in so long, besides the finale. And I was like, this is funny. And it's not lowest common denominator jokes. It's not hateful in any way. And it's just, I only say that because I feel like there's a lot of sitcoms from the early 90s to the mid 90s that did not age as well and definitely have some problematic opinions and problematic jokes. The other crazy thing about Living Single specifically is it's a Warner Brothers produced show. And essentially the head of NBC is asked during that year what his ideal show would be.
When Living Single came out, shortly thereafter, Warren Littlefield, who was president of NBC, they asked him if he could have any show on television, any of the new shows, which one would it be? And he said Living Single. It was in the newspaper. And the next thing you know, here comes Friends, which was an amazing show. And they did a great job with it. So, I mean, if you're going to rock it, that's the way to do it.
It's the same fucking show.
It's the same show, except whiter.
Mm-hmm. Oh, not just whiter, but like all white.
Whiter and whiter. Yeah, it's crazy. And it's not like, I don't know. I love the fact that Living Single is about 4 women and 2 guys and not about 3 guys and 3 women. And it's about working women. It's women who have jobs that would make them able to maintain the type of apartment that they have in the show.
Right. They're successful women,
Absolutely.
Professional women.
Which is the opposite of Friends, because Friends seems to be about 6 friends who can never keep a steady job except for Ross, because he's the worst.
Right.
And so, like, I don't know. It's just funny to watch this sort of Black Mirror reflection of Living Single becomes what is considered one of the greatest sitcoms of all time. Mm-hmm. And it like exposes all the flaws of when you take something and you make a copy of it.
Yeah, totally. And I think I saw criticism of like, oh, Living Single is just these women like talking about men the entire time. And Queen Latifah was like, yeah, these are successful women who are single in New York City. What the fuck?
It's in the title. It's like...
Oh, right. It's like men get to sit around and talk about women all the time. Why the fuck can't these Black women do the same thing? So yeah, it's very funny. And I believe, am I wrong? Is it all on Hulu right now?
It is all on Hulu. And also there has been like rumblings, but there's also been rumblings for like the last 5 years about like a reunion maybe, or a revival. So we'll see. We'll see if we get to hear Queen Latifah do that theme song with It's a 20s Kind of World.
It's a 20s kind of world. I love 90s shows where like, come on, it's the 90s.
Everyone's gay. It's the 90s.
Yeah.
I still say that.
She's almost immediately this multi-hyphenate, putting out records. She's on TV. She's doing these supporting roles in Jungle Fever, House Party 2. In 1996, though, is really when this kind of breakthrough moment in Set It Off. I had never seen Set It Off. I had heard about it.
I need to stop gasping.
Listen. Yeah, I had heard about it. I knew about it. Set It Off is buck wild. Like, and I think I even read that she plays Cleo, who is this like butch lesbian woman who is like rough. She likes getting high. She has a hot femme girlfriend.
All right, Louise, you take Thelma over there and y'all go rob another bank if you all that.
Fuck you! I know you ain't finna back down on us now that we need you. I want some more motherfucking money.
Cleo, you are real high and you acting real stupid. You need to get that gun out my face.
The movie is just like very groundbreaking in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
I think if this episode was about Jada Pinkett Smith, I think we would talk about it more, because she is far and away, I think, the best part of this. She's the lead.
Yeah. She genuinely is. Yeah.
Yeah, and she's very good. But I also just, you know how I feel about Kimberly Elise. I think she is so good. You also get Vivica A. Fox in this movie.
Yeah.
And
Vivica A. Fox, who gets some like classic emotional Vivica A. Fox moments.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, literally the opening of the movie is her getting held up at a bank and then the police accusing her of having something to do with it. And just the whole like, where's your fucking procedure now?
Yeah.
Like, oh.
I mean, Set It Up, I will say it's a hard watch, especially right now. There is
it's literally just police violence over and over and over again throughout the movie.
Right, police violence over and over again, and then asking these Black people to be like, no, it's enough, this time it's fine, like, fuck you. The best scene though, and for me truly, is them when they're all custodians at this building or something, and they're pretending to be like the Godfather.
Yes.
I think it's so funny and so good. And I could watch them. Like, the tension of this movie is that they are all there's the normalcy of their normal lives, and then like how quick they are to turn to aggressive, sometimes violence, and like running cars through buildings. And it's like, so there is tension and there's a lot of high stakes in the movie.
Dumb fun trivia about that scene specifically. It was rumored that it cost the film half its budget to use the music from The Godfather.
Oh, wow. You know what? Worth it, because that scene slaps. Let's just all say it right now. She has long been rumored to be closeted. She was in a feud with Foxy Brown, where Foxy Brown was saying that she was a lesbian.
Yeah. Real cool Foxy, by the way. Some real homophobic shit coming out of it.
Right. So fun. Like, oh, you're gay. Queen Latifah has even said, before the movie came out, she like sat her family down and said, this is the character I'm playing. People are going to say things. I just want you to know, this is a role that I'm playing, and not to think much of it. And she's good in it. I mean, she's terrifying.
Great in it. Yeah.
I think Cleo is like the most intense of the bunch. She's the one who's like demanding more money, demanding more bank robberies. She has always been very private. In all the interviews, she's like, that's the funny thing about private lives. They're private. And, respect and power to her. I think she's always been in charge of her career in her life. And this part of her life, I don't think it's any different. I will say that she has been, she has supported gay rights and gay marriage and equality. She, in the very cringe moment of the people getting married at the Grammys, she was the one who officiated that, which is a kind of a fun little historical fun fact thing, which, gay or not, who cares? It felt right in the moment. I was like, Queen Latifah's officiating the gay wedding at the Grammys? Yes, I approve. So there's that. This will not be the last time we see her playing an LGBT character.
Yeah.
The next big moment, I think, is in 1998's Living Out Loud. Gavin, do you live out loud?
I do.
I saw this movie today, and again, I think we would talk about it more if we were doing a Holly Hunter episode.
Yes, absolutely.
I think it's a very interesting and weird little movie that would never be made today.
Yeah, 100%. And it's interesting because it is very much a writer's film, a writer turned director, and it like definitely follows the beat of its own drum. I love her in it. I love Holly Hunter. I love Danny DeVito. There's that amazing dance scene when Holly Hunter tries E, and
yes.
and that's another like moment where Queen Latifah's at like a gay club, and
and there's even like she's dating a gay dude. I was like, okay, what's Queen Latifah's introducing Holly Hunter to poppers here or something? I don't understand, but it's really fun. I think she sings a lot in the movie, and I think maybe this is the first time that maybe if people only knew her as like the rapper Queen Latifah, she's singing and like singing. I heard she worked really hard to get this role. She's third billed, and even though she's not in that much.
She's got a couple really choice scenes. One of my favorite is a patron at the bar comes up to her and basically just white guilts all over her.
Because when you sing, it's not about just you. It's not about now. It's the whole black experience. You know what I'm saying? Because you see, black people, African-American people, when they sing sentimental songs, not sentimental, right? You know why? Because they have the pain. Because they have the pain to back it up.
Yes, I have the pain.
It's the pain.
I'm full of pain.
You have the pain.
You are absolutely right.
That's right.
Well, you know what? Thank you so much
You're
for coming.
welcome. Thank you. You are so great. You're so great. I think you're great.
Bring your friends next time.
You know what? You keep on singing. Keep on singing now.
I got plenty of bad times to sing about. Don't you worry.
I'm gonna keep singing.
Okay. You get home safe.
No, I will.
This is your fault. This is her fault.
Why?
Because you said I was rude. Ever since you said I was rude, it's like I gotta talk to every psycho that comes into places so I don't feel bad.
Living Single ends.
Yes.
And it doesn't go out with a bang, which is really frustrating. The final episode gets like a moment of closure, but not. And she then gets her own TV talk show. This will be one of two talk shows that she has over the years. This one lasts only for a season, and it's a very like Ricky Lake sort of like your sister's dating a black man.
Are you gonna teach your child like your parents taught you? Don't look at me like I'm crazy. This is your family.
Next on Queen Latifah.
She then later gets a second Queen Latifah show.
They're both called the Queen Latifah show.
Yeah, being a smart businesswoman, she retains the rights. So she gets a second TV show. And that lasts 2 seasons. And that's a very different setup. She's interviewing celebrities. She's interviewing former presidents. And it's just funny to watch the difference change. But that would bring us into the 2000s.
Right. So, she tries her hand at the talk show stuff. Doesn't really work out. But in 2002, she auditions 3 times, goes up against the likes of Kathy Bates, former subject of the pod, Rosie O'Donnell, but finally secures the bag and is Mama Morton in 2002's Chicago, which I think most people would either say that is A, one of the best movie musicals of all time, and B, heralded, was on the surge, the upswing of the new modern movie musical.
I think when you watch it, it's much more apparent that the modern movie musical owes a lot more to it than, say, something like Moulin Rouge. Yeah. Though Moulin Rouge is amazing and successful, it's so chaotic and all over the place, and Chicago's so much more structured and so much more theatrical.
Right. If Moulin Rouge was like the white smoke saying, hey, there's a fire, girl, like Chicago was the blaze that just like ripped through Hollywood saying like this can be done and you can use everything that makes film great to tell a theater story well. Because rewatching Chicago, me and my friends were like, I did not remember that Chicago was this good. It's very, very good.
I went in really cynical. I went in being like, oh, yeah, like, there's no way this movie... Like, I liked it when it came out, and I was like, there's no way this movie holds up. It actually does, and it's really shocking because I don't love Rob Marshall as a director, but I think his direction of this movie is really tight, and Bill Condon's script is obviously a huge... boon to the production itself. That cast is really amazing. Catherine Zeta-Jones like really throws herself into every physical thing that she has to do. My one complaint, which is such a bitchy minor complaint, is that
tell me
as a former tapper,
oh god,
I do not think Richard Gere's...
Never mind, don't tell me.
I do not think Richard Gere's tap dance as Billy Flynn is that impressive. He's doing nothing with his arms.
Wow, where's the arm work, Richard?
Where is the arm work?
Where are the jokes? There is, with Catherine Zeta-Jones, a close second, like vying for first. I don't think anyone is better cast than Queen Latifah. Right. Like, she owns the role. And it's they cut out the second song that she has with Catherine Zeta-Jones. Yeah. So she only has one big number. But God, does she own it from beginning to... And it's the intro song. It's the introduction of her.
Don't you know that this hand washes that one too? When you're good to mama, mama's good to you.
She just bursts out. Her tits are up. She's got and I think she just looks so at home and so good in period costume and dress. She's just like milking every ounce of charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent she has. She sounds great. Like, it's a very good performance.
It's so funny too when you say that she is so perfectly cast, because I always think of that scene in contrast with her very next scene, which is Roxy's character, played by Renee Zellweger, observing her and Velma Kelly, played by Catherine Zeta-Jones, having a private conversation, and most of it's done through like reflection and through a crack in the door, and yet still, with both of them on screen, the only person you can look at is Queen Latifah, because she just owns it. She just owns every second she's on screen.
She's so good. And I mean, even like the bigger picture of Chicago, it's like, God, the scenes, like the maximalist everything, it's so good, in fact, that she gets an Oscar nomination. She's going up against the eventual winner, Catherine Zeta-Jones, her co-star. Very well deserved. Catherine Zeta-Jones like fucking rules that movie. So Queen Latifah is one of 5 hip hop and R&B artists to receive an Academy Award nomination in an acting category. Will Smith got one. Jennifer Hudson, obviously. Jamie Foxx. And Mary J. Blige, who we talked about very recently. So, I mean, that's like very... I don't know, that's quite the crowd, you know?
Yeah.
And she did it way back in 2002. The only one who had done it before her was Will Smith the year before in Ali. Once Chicago happens and there's Oscars and people are really getting to know her outside of music, because I think before then she was primarily known as a musician.
Right.
After Chicago, she is squarely in the mainstream. She does Bringing Down the House with Steve Martin, which I rewatched and was so shocked at how much I didn't like it, because I remember when it first came out, I was like, oh my God, she's amazing. He's hilarious. This movie's the best. And she executive produces this movie. She like even said like, I will not be in this movie unless I executive produce it. So again, she is in charge of her career. The next year she does Taxi, which is kind of like a big critical bomb that she does with fucking Jimmy Fallon, Barfzilla.
I can't even stand his face.
I can't stand his face at all. Whoever thought, yes, Jimmy Fallon, New York police officer, that sack of twigs.
Also, the entire joke of that movie is he can't drive. That's it. Right. That's the big joke. Watching this movie, watching Taxi, sapped my will to live.
Yeah.
I was like, I should just end it. I have been in quarantine for 3 months, and this is what people consider comedy.
the Giselle Bundchen of it all.
Oh,
anyway,
yes.
In 2005, she leads the barbershop spin-off Beauty Shop, which we talked about for our
Alfre Woodard episode.
Our Alfre Woodard episode. I did not watch it for Alfre Woodard. I did watch it for this. I think then you said that she was one of the bright spots in this movie, or maybe you said that for Steel Magnolias.
I said it for Steel Magnolias. Yeah.
You were right. Both of those were movies that I did not watch for Alfre Woodard, but I did watch for this. Beauty Shop is very fine.
Yeah, it's very middle of the road. I do enjoy, and I did mention this for Alfre Woodard. Alfre Woodard's character just always busting out Maya Angelou. Like that was a good running gag.
In the next year, she has a small part in Stranger Than Fiction, which we talked about in our Emma Thompson episode. She also starts dabbling in some animation stuff. She's a voice in Ice Age: The Meltdown, and I believe she's like in a lot of those sequels. She's making her fuck you money, which good for you, girl.
Absolutely. Buy another boat.
Yeah. In 2006, I think her next big movie is The Last Holiday, which I hadn't seen, but I had heard a lot of people talk about how it is just the sappiest, sincerest.
Yeah.
And they're not wrong. I mean, like,
I don't often like to quote Roger Ebert, but he referred to the movie as being a hug. And yeah. I mean, like, it's hard to. There are movies where it's like they're really aiming for that, and I think we'll get to one of those movies later. But The Last Holiday really does, like, it's hard to be cynical and boo-hoo it when truly it's like the message is just live like you were dying, and I think she's like she finally gets to turn down her like her volume a little bit. She's in a lot of these other ones she's asked to play the bombastic kind of fish out of water black character in a white world type thing, which is exploitative and stupid. In this movie she gets to actually just be a woman who works at a kind of like a Dillard's Macy's type situation. Right.
She has a crush on the guy
played by Cool J.
Casual.
Ladies really do love Cool James.
But like it's so sweet. She loves cooking and she has all these dreams, but like she hasn't really like chased them, and she gets a false, diagnosis that she's gonna die in 3 weeks, and so she just hip scops her way through Europe and just lives her life like she wants to. She's gonna die.
It's a remake of an old British film starring Alec Guinness. That old British film is a little more sarcastically twinged. In fact, his character meets a cruel exit at the end after finding out that he's not actually dying, which a lot of people ruffled their feathers a bit. But the remake had been floating around for a really long time, and John Candy was circling it, and then he passed away. And Queen Latifah's people found it, and she decided to put her efforts towards it and have the movie, restructured a bit for her. And I do, like you said, it, it's kind of warm and fuzzy. It's heartwarming. She has amazing chemistry with every single actor that's on screen. I mean, the scenes between her and Gerard Depardieu are really funny and sweet.
You and I, we know the secret of life.
Well, what is that?
secret of life is butter.
Butter. Tell nobody.
There's a really great episode of It Pod to Be You about this movie specifically. If you want to know more, I would highly recommend you going over and listening to that podcast, because I had listened to that episode before I had seen this film, and it set me up really well for it as well. It gave me a new appreciation. I think this is a movie I probably would have been a little more cynical about, like, oh, this is, you know, but that gave me a newer appreciation for it. So,
in 2007, she returns to the movie musical world and plays Maybelle in Hairspray. And Hairspray also is really good. You know, the movie. The only sore spot for me in that movie is Mr. John Travolta. Because that performance is fucking wild, and I don't know what accent he was trying to go for.
Yeah. But I mean, it's one of those. I understand the reasoning behind it, because the idea is that, like, oh, they needed to cast a big celebrity to play that role, which I think is bonkers because they populated the rest of the film with celebrities as well. So it's a strange thing to be like, oh, we need celebrity on celebrity on celebrity, but like Harvey Fierstein was right there, and even more so the fact that when they did it years later live on NBC, it
was Harvey.
Yeah, they brought Harvey back because he just is the modern Edna Turnblad.
Her version of "I Know Where I've Been."
Oh, she gets the number. She gets the number. Yeah,
it's kind of iconic.
And there's pride in my heart, 'cause I know where I'm going. Yes, I do. And I know where I've been. Yeah.
I love her in Hairspray. I love Hairspray.
I wish I wish there was a better director, but whatever. We don't have to get to. Sorry, Adam Shankman. Sorry.
So you think you can't dance?
You know, his choreography. Mwah, there's great choreography in that movie. It's tight, it's fast, it's crisp. His eye for direction is not my favorite. I mean, there's so like, it's so clear when you watch the NBC live version. They're like, oh, so much of this is just verbatim the stage show, just transferred into a more realistic setting, because it doesn't look like the John Waters film, not by any means. So I don't know. I take a little umbrage with that, but we can get into that when we do our Zac Efron episode.
He's a lady's choice. In 2008, thank you. In 2008, she does Mad Money, which we also talked about with Diane Keaton.
Yeah, that was something I was not going to rewatch.
No. I'm so sorry, sweetie. That movie is trash.
Yeah.
In 2008, she also does The Secret Life of Bees. Those bees have some secrets, honey. I had never seen this movie before.
Yeah, I had not seen it either.
I didn't realize it's literally like Alicia Keys, Jennifer Hudson, and Queen Latifah. I'm like, these are all these titans of like R&B world.
Yeah. Oh yes. Okay. Just the art. Okay. For a second there, I was like, are you going to leave out the love of my life, Sophie Akinato? Because I fucking love Sophie Akinato so much. I had to like pause the movie in the middle and like leave the room and be like, how many times have we seen Sophie Akinato on stage, Dan? And he's like, I don't know. And I was like, yeah, that'd be a weird thing to keep a list of. But she's so good and just one of my favorite actors. But anyways, but you're right. She's not an R&B person. Good. So.
Right, but I literally, all I could think of was like, is Janelle Monáe gonna come in like any second, you know? Because like I was like, these are three
little known fact. Paul Bettany's not in that movie. It's Janelle Monáe in a mask.
Secret Life of Bees. It's fine. I think it's like a well done movie. It's you know,
it's mostly good. The early 2000s to the mid 2000s is such a weird time for race relations, and like obviously we're still in it and we're still there, and like things haven't gotten better, but more things have come to light in like the last 3.5 years for certain reasons that and right. I don't know, it struck me as just it was very much like The Help in a way that it's like, we're going to talk about racism, but your window into racism is a young white girl, and I was like, oh, come on. And it like, obviously there's certainly a couple more risks than something like The Help, but I was still like, really?
Yeah, it's very palatable for and like oh look and look at these nice 3 black women who are taking care of this white girl.
Yeah,
like it's very that.
And they're not magical, but it feels that way at points. Like they got their wall with their secrets and like
yeah. Okay, let's keep going. In 2010, Just Right. Another movie that she, I believe, executive produces. It's her and Common. And it's like a basketball and like sexy. And it's her and Paul Patton. And the whole thing is like Paul Patton's the hot one.
Yeah.
And she gets everything she wants. And blah, blah, blah. And only if Common could see that she's just right for him.
That movie's not my favorite. And I don't even necessarily understand the narrative arc to a lot of it. I'll be honest, because it kind of like I don't know. I feel like you could easily get rid of Paul Patton's character and still have a movie, which is terrible. But
right, it's almost as if they needed to like have some sort of like visual foil. Like,
right.
Why wouldn't he want to be with Queen Latifah when he could be with this skinny girl,
right,
who's kind of like a ditz and like has bad, morals? Like, she's like, I'm going places.
I mean, a volunteer from a shelter?
Well, you said he was different, so I gave him different.
The girl next door.
The girl will be living in this big-ass house. I'm packing this one, girl. I can feel it.
Wait a minute. You didn't even give him your number when he asked you for it.
Yeah, which is probably the first time a woman's done that to him since he got to the NBA. Trust me.
It's frustrating because I would say the rest of the cast is filled out with people I really like. Pam Grier plays their mother. Felicia Rashad plays Common's mother. And also just shout out to Wendy and Lisa did the music, and Wendy and Lisa are from the Revolution, Prince's band. So just
casual.
Yeah. Totally cool with that. But
just totally
not a great movie. Maybe just listen to the soundtrack.
In 2012, she has 2 big projects come out. The first one being the Steel Magnolias remake for Lifetime. Like you said, Alfre Woodard is the best part of Steel Magnolias is Alfre Woodard and Felicia Rashad.
Yeah.
Period. And I cannot believe, and this is not my 1-star review, so I need to say it. I think Queen Latifah's pretty not good in this.
Yeah, she's actively bad, and
she is snoozing her way through it.
And I thought I remembered her being a little bit better, but it's frustrating too, because I think there's such a power that you need to bring, especially to that final monologue, and it's not handled in any way that, she plays Malin, which is the same character Sally Field played in the movie, so we also brought it up for it, and it just is, it doesn't have the force or the pull. No. And
it's almost as if Queen Latifah brought herself down for the other women to be up. And the thing, like, Malin, though, has such energy. She's like exasperated, exhausted. The scene where her daughter is telling her that she's pregnant, she's going to have a baby. In the original, Sally Field is explosive, and her and Julia Roberts are just like going back and forth.
Yeah.
And you can feel the love and the pain between the two of them. And this one, she kind of just like shakes her head, talks really soft. And I was like, how did Steel Magnolias get so boring?
Right.
How?
Your poor body has been through so much. Does he know what he's asking?
He didn't ask. It was my decision.
I don't believe that for a minute.
You want to be the only one to tell me what I can and can't do. You just ready to spit nails because you don't call the shots. You know what? It's just like the tree. Nobody can trim it but you.
And it's frustrating too, because in those scenes, playing the Julia Roberts role, Shelby, is Condola Rashad, who's Felicia Rashad's daughter, who is
so good.
So good. I've seen her. Yeah. Speaking of another actor I've seen on stage several times, and just like can hold an audience in the palm of her hand.
Yeah. Yeah, with those big eyes. I think Condola, all of them I think do better than Queen Latifah.
Yeah. Even Jill Scott, who I don't really know as an actor that much, and obviously she's not doing Dolly, but she's doing her own thing, and I don't know. It's There's
a lot about that movie that I'm like, if I don't know if it's like if they had a better writer and more money and it was an actual theatrical thing. Like, again, the lifetime of it all just kind of like brings it down. But I don't think it's very hard to take the words. A lot of it is word for word the original. A lot of it isn't.
It's so weird too, because it's like clearly a remake of the movie more so than the play, because it leaves in a lot of the additional stuff. Because as I mentioned before, a couple times that we mentioned it before, the play is all set inside Truvy's salon, and so like they had to beef up the male characters for the
they
for
add
the
a
movie.
lot, and even in this they add even more of the male characters, I thought. So yeah, Steel Magnolia is, I think, good intentions but poor execution. She also, that year, Joyful Noise comes out, which is maybe the most embarrassing movie I've ever seen. Jeremy Jordan singing Yeah, but turned into a Christian rap thing.
All I can think of is that episode of Community, the Christmas episode of Community, where they're like, it's a Christmas mashup. Fa la 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 la. Yeah.
It is hard to watch. The shining star of that movie is Keke Palmer.
Yes.
Because she is Keke Palmer.
Yeah.
She has one moment that I would absolutely be happy if it came out on Musical Mondays at a bar when she sings Man in the Mirror. Everything else can just go.
But so sorry to this movie.
So sorry to this movie. Don't know her. And, you know, after 2012, what do we get? We get, in 2015, Bessie on HBO, which was Long Time in Gestation. Comes out by Dee Reese.
It's another movie that she gets a producing credit on, an executive producing credit on, and like clearly a passion project for her. About the singer Bessie Smith.
Also stars Monique as Ma Rainey, which is like brilliant casting.
Speaking of brilliant casting, they sent Monique the script, and they wanted her to play Bessie Smith's abusive sister, and she came back with, I've played this role before. Do you have anybody in line for Ma Rainey?
Monique.
Smart.
True queen.
Smart.
Very smart. This is kind of was like a year for her in TV. Not just that she wasn't doing a lot of other things, but she does Bessie. She does The Wiz Live.
Yeah.
She is the titular Wiz. The year after her Fox show Star. And it's not until 2017 when she comes out with Girls Trip, which is maybe the funniest movie of all time. I don't know.
So good. I genuinely don't know anybody who does not find that movie hilarious.
Yeah,
so
I have not met a single person who's like, Girls Trip, boring.
Yeah. No.
Girls Trip is maybe one of the most fun movie-going experiences that I've ever had.
Yeah, hilarious.
So good. And that kind of brings us up to today, you know. Over her career, Queen Latifah has sold over 2 million records worldwide.
Casual.
She, was dubbed the Queen of Jazz Rap. She became the first female hip-hop recording artist to get nominated for an Oscar.
First hip-hop artist to have a star in the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
Yeah, and she, so she has a Grammy Award, 6 nominations, a Golden Globe Award, 2 SAG Awards, 2 NAACP Image Awards. She has 1 Emmy, and it's just like she has it all. She truly has conquered the queendom with her multiple talents, and going through. I mean, and again, kind of like the Halle Berry of all. Like there are definitely some clunkers in this. And her filmography that I think she is not good in, but there are others where I'm just like, man.
It feels weird to like compliment her on her mistakes, but I think what's brilliant about her is that she is willing to throw everything at the table. You know, I've heard her in interviews say that she hates the word no.
You can tell me no, but then that just makes me re-examine my position. Is it a no because it should be a no, or is it a no because they think it should be a no? And if it's a no because they think it should be a no, and who are they to tell me whether I should be my no? Do I feel it's a no? Hell no. So let's figure out a way to make that no a yes, or better yet, let's remove them, let's go around them.
Do an end run,
let's make our own thing so we don't have to ask yes or no.
I think that comes through in a lot of the things she chooses, even if they're not the best things. You know, she executive produced the 3rd season of Scream, which was a reboot and got dumped. You know, she did this terrible horror movie that she executive produced called House of Bodies in 2015 that she also took a very small role in. but I love that she's like willing to try things. She's willing to do things. One of my favorite, most recent things is at the end of 2019, this video game came out called Sayonara Wild Hearts. I bought it to play it, and she's the narrator in it. And what's really funny is the guys that made the game, when the game was bought by Annapurna, they were like, oh, we were going to have a narrator and we haven't got anybody to do the narration yet. And Annapurna Interactive was like, oh, well, who's on your list? And jokingly, one of them said like, oh, Queen Latifah. And 2 weeks later, Annapurna sent them an email like, hey, you have a Skype interview tomorrow. Queen Latifah has this amount of time to record. And she does the narration for the game, and it's great. So like, I just love
crazy.
Yeah, that she's just like, yeah, I'll do it. And like, to me, obviously you're going to run into some not great things in your career if you're saying yes to a lot of stuff, but I think she's just constantly willing to prove she can do it.
Right, totally. And she does everything like full force and and again is in control of her career. I didn't know that Annapurna had like a video game arm.
Yeah. And some of the indie games that they produce are like some of the best.
What, like it's hard? We forgot to mention in 2019 she also played Ursula in The Little Mermaid Live.
Oh yeah, on TV. That's another thing that like I feel like a star of her caliber would be like, no, I'm not gonna fucking paint myself blue and do it. But I think she's also thinking like, when the fuck am I gonna get a chance to do this and they're gonna pay me for it? Sign me up.
Right. And I think that's a brilliant casting. Like, it makes so much sense. Queen Latifah as Ursula, yes. And I think, and again, I've paid my Ryan Murphy dues, so I did not watch, but she's in Hollywood.
Oh yeah, no.
She playing Hattie McDaniel, who she was the first Black person to ever win an Oscar.
Yes, and I don't know. I'm happy she got to play that role. I just wish she could have played it in a better property. Once again, to impress upon people that like we're not here to tear anybody down, and sure, her career has not been sterling from top to bottom, but I think the fact that she is who she is and she's always willing to stay true to that is what makes her so special. You know, when you hire somebody like Angela Bassett, you know you're hiring them to dig deep into this character, and I think people are a little more surprised when they hire Queen Latifah, because I think they hire Queen Latifah to play Queen Latifah, and she's like, no, I'm gonna show up and I'm gonna give you like everything I can do, and it's not just the persona you're buying, it's the talent. And
and it's hard because she has such a strong and well-loved persona that I think people are like, oh, that's a name, that's like, someone that we can deliver, but she's like this infinite well of so much more. Maybe it's time to get into some picks, Kevin.
Absolutely.
Let's do the 1-star reviews. My 1-star review, I'm just gonna go ahead and get her out of the way.
Do it.
Is 2004's Taxi. I could not believe, and this is just like, imagine the year 2004. We've survived the millennium. Lava lamps are finally out again.
Are they? Let me hide mine.
Everything is just like skinny girls and like sex and and Jimmy Fallon is like ascending as a star.
Men in shaggy haircuts.
Very that. CGI is a thing now. The birth of CGI
doesn't look fake, doesn't matter.
This movie is just it feels like the concoction of Jack Donaghy, like it's just like some network execs being like, we need to put Queen Latifah in something, and I have a friend who knows Giselle Bundchen, but like let's make her like this hot like bank robber who can like drive fast cars. The men will love that. This movie is not funny. This movie there's nothing for anyone in this movie. So the movie is Queen Latifah is a messenger who, like, the movie opens with like this BMX messenger driving through Manhattan, like literally on a bike on top of like big trucks and going this way and that way. And then she arrives in Brooklyn and takes off the thing and, oh, it's Queen Latifah. And I'm like, honey, you lost me from second one, okay? She's quitting her beloved job of messenger folk in New York to become a taxi driver. She soups up this taxi cab with like Inspector Gadget type buttons that make it go crazy fast. On the opposite side, you have Jimmy Fallon, who can't drive. And he tries. He's a police officer, and his whole gimmick seems to be like, I can do voices and like improv my way through Vice things.
Yeah,
but he's always getting into antics, and he's just the dumbest police officer you would ever find. And through shenanigans, she ends up being his driver as they try and bring down Gisele Bündchen and her band of hot girls. And I don't know what else to say.
Yeah,
this movie's beyond bad. Nary a joke in sight.
There's a whole thing with her fiance, who I think is from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and there is Jimmy Fallon's
Anne
mom.
Margaret.
Yeah, played by Anne Margaret.
Anne Margaret.
Absolutely slumming.
Yeah. I cannot believe.
I don't know what it's like to age in Hollywood, and I don't know what it feels like to no longer feel like you're relevant, but baby, this was not the way back in.
This is also like the time when people thought like Jimmy Fallon like being weird and quirky and singing was like funny. So like there's a whole moment where Queen Latifah's like, oh, put on some music and you can drive better. And then This Will Be comes on. And then so it's just him being like, this will be, like it's crazy town.
Sing along to it.
Oh, I don't want to sing.
Oh, come on, sing. Sing the song. I love to stand up. This will be an everlasting love. Yes, it will now. Okay. All right. There you go. There you go. All right, now put it in dry.
Okay.
Who said stop singing? Sing. Song, sing the damn song.
I don't want to spend too much on Jimmy Fallon because we're really here to talk about the Queen, but I feel like there's very much two lines of people that grew up watching him on SNL. There's the people that grew up watching him on SNL and thinking, wow, that guy is really funny and charming and does a lot of weird things. And then I think there are people in my camp who are like, wow, Jimmy Fallon really fucking ruined every sketch he was in because he couldn't stop fucking laughing. And so,
right.
And that's what I see when I see him. And this movie looks like that. And to make matters worse, this is one of those movies that has bloopers at the end. And these,
oh, I know.
And they were insufferable. It wasn't like funny bloopers. It just felt like it was leftover material. And they were just like, I guess we got to put something in these end credits.
Yeah, it's not Melissa McCarthy bloopers.
No,
it's trash.
It's trash.
As far as Queen Latifah goes, I mean, the movie has this alleged like plot line of her wanting to one day be a NASCAR driver.
Yes.
Which is the most bonkers out of nowhere tacked on thing. She is not even her and Jimmy have no chemistry even as like, buddies.
Right.
I don't know why.
It's impossible to believe that they would hang out with each other for more than 10 seconds, let alone at least a week's worth of sleuthing.
Right. And especially when like he is this cop, even as bumbling as he is, and she is literally someone who has illegally tricked out her taxi cab and is like evading the police. Like, and yet they're like, come on, man, you can do it. Let's help each other out. That type of shit. It's so bad. At the bottom of the barrel. The movie is more interested in showcasing what a weird and quirky talent Jimmy Fallon is than servicing, I don't know, a story, some characters.
Queen Latifah.
Literally. Yeah. I mean, it's name a woman. So, yes, it's bad.
Okay. So my 1-star review, I'm going to grab the clutch. We're going to spin around real fast and we're going to drive our way back. See, these are all driving jokes. Are they jokes?
Can you drive?
We're heading back 1 year before that to a little film called Bringing Down the House.
Okay, yes.
So I had never seen Bringing Down the House. I have a traumatic memory about Bringing Down the House when I was a teen, being in a department store and a DVD player being stuck on the menu, and the menu was literally Steve Martin answering the door going, "Hope you like shampoo," over and over and over. So that's what I knew about this movie. But Bringing Down the House is a quote comedy,
alleged comedy,
directed by Adam Shankman and written by Jason Filardi.
Already your nemesis, Adam Shankman.
He's fine sometimes. Both white, just putting that out there. And it's a movie in which Steve Martin, who's a workaholic tax attorney, he's separated from his wife, and he decides to start doing some like internet dating, and he's been talking to this lady for a while. Turns out the lady he's been talking to is Queen Latifah. She's just gotten out of jail. She wants to, I'm saying gotten out of jail. You find out later she's escaped from jail, from prison. And she claims she's innocent. She was accused of armed robbery. And she wants him to help her prove that, that she's an innocent person. And I don't know, she's actually really smart, but as the movie seems to put it, she's really smart for a black person. And and the everything goes from there. He has kids with his wife that he's separated from. She pretends to be their nanny. She has to do this because it's really funny that his next door neighbors are so racist that if they even saw
Betty White,
if they even saw a black woman, they would call the police. And yeah, chaos ensues from there. She gets declared innocent. She starts working in his law office. And also she falls in love with Eugene Levy, who's like
correct
spit and jive, I guess, or like
he's like, oh yeah, back that up, I want that.
Yeah, he's like quote unquote speaking Ebonics. Listen, I mentioned this before. The early 2000s to the mid 2000s is a really weird fucking time for race relations, and we grew up in this, and I don't think we realized how fucking weird it was at the time. This is a movie that basically, without saying, like, this movie is microaggressions, the film. And it's almost exists in a universe where segregation never ended, because there are no other black people in the film outside of Queen Latifah's circle. Like, any black person has to be somebody she knows or she brings into the situation.
They have to be like, quote, urban, or into hip hop.
Absolutely. They have guns. They have cigars. They're loud.
They love gambling.
Right. Exactly. All the white people are respectable or gasp racist.
So racist. It's a lot of racism in this movie, because it's not only Betty White, the neighbor, it's like this client.
Yeah.
Who is
played by Dame Joan Plowright. And then you also have Steve Martin's sister-in-law, played by Missy Pyle, who's another actor I genuinely love. Missy Pyle is hilarious.
When I rewatched it, I was like, okay, Missy Pyle is secretly the funniest part of this movie.
Yes.
And not to say that that's like really hard, because nothing else
really
but
she's the secret weapon, genuinely. But what's weird is her character, Dame Joan Plowright and Betty White, are all allowed to be outwardly and verbally racist, and therefore they are bad. Every other character can be quietly racist in the film, including 100% Steve Martin. Steve Martin says some really fucking gross shit in this movie that's like disguised, clouded language. I genuinely, I could not believe that this movie was like this, and that this was made in 2003, because this feels like a movie made in the 50s to me. It is wild how genuinely racist this film was. And I was physically upset by the end of this. And let me tell you, I watched this immediately after Taxi. Taxi was going to be my 1-star review. And then I saw this movie, and I was just so enraged. And it bothered me so much too, that the character Queen Latifah is playing, it not only is it about the fact that she's black, but it's also playing up a lot of black stereotypes in her physicality. She's big, she's tough, she's violent, and it feels like all these, like, genuinely what it was like for films in the 50s when it was like, oh, don't go near black people. They can't control themselves. They're they're rageful animals. And
it feels
I was grossed out.
It feels like, so you're right. So it's 2003. This is like the peak of hip hop culture that had become like TRLized.
Yeah.
Like it was candy coated, colored. It was hip hop for the masses. It was, the era of, white people starting to wear, baggy clothes and chains and like wanting to be like 50 Cent and Nelly, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And how funny it is to see a white person trying to, speak in Ebonics or put on that voice. And there's a big scene where Steve Martin does that. He pays some, guys to put on their clothes and like, he's clearly not trying to infiltrate this club. He's white.
Yeah.
But he's like somehow going to wear his baggy jeans
by putting on the clothes, it's almost like some sort of mystical blackface because it does allow him access to the club.
Right. It's as if like he gets it. And it's not even just that though, but he then starts talking he starts talking that way and it's offensive as fuck, but it's like using that the comedy, and it's unlike in Baps. In Baps, there is a scene similar but very different. Whereas the butler, he is repeating what Halle Berry is saying, but he's not doing an affectation.
Right.
Steve Martin is mimicking black culture and how they sound to gain access and entry to this world. And like I said, when I first watched it was probably back in 2003, I laughed and I laughed.
Right.
Watching it now, it is fucking so cringeworthy. Crazy, crazy cakes. I felt so bad. I paid to watch this movie.
I will say, and obviously it's a very different time because it is a solid 1-star review, but the movie was only made for $35 million. And it spent 3 weeks at number 1 in the US. It earned $132.6 million in the United States and an international gross of $32 million, bringing its worldwide gross to $164.6 million. So just be more like, obviously no one can go back 20 years ago and get a refund for a movie they saw then, but like, be conscious of what you're spending your money on, because what that does is that tells the people that made this movie they did a good thing, and that there needs to be more movies like this, and that there's an audience for more movies like this.
Right. I mean, and that's why when I was kind of excited to rewatch it, because in my head I remembered this was a huge hit, and I remember thinking it was very funny, and was shocked because I think like you touched on something really interesting, like the utility of Queen Latifah in this movie. And I think in a lot of the movies and the roles that she's asked to portray, it's very much like the gateway into like blackness.
Yeah.
Like she's palatable to white people.
Yes.
Somehow she is disarming. She's not, quote, too black. She's not, quote, too ethnic. But so in this movie, she's trying to have it both ways, or this character at least is, where it's like, there's a scene where they're literally, that woman's asking her to sing a spiritual, and she's, there's all this outward racism to her, and then she's trying to be like, no, I'm actually smart, and no, I'm actually like, and so you can kind of see her fighting against it a little bit, but there's this like in no sense that she can kind of.
But she's alone in the battle because the rest of the script is against her. I mean, the entire joke of the movie, the entire premise of the movie is that Steve Martin can't possibly end up with her because she's black, because she said she was blonde when they talked on the internet. By the way, Yahoo Messenger, hilarious. Doesn't exist anymore. I just, that's the entire setup of the thing. And so when he answers the door and sees her in her outfit and her hair is up and it's not, and he says that like, I hope you like shampoo. the joke isn't necessarily like, oh, she just got out of jail, because they don't tell you how she got out of jail until much later. The joke is that like, oh, this is a black woman and therefore is dirty and needs, it's so it's microaggressions, and I don't know how to describe it any better than that. It's constantly characters telling her that she's not good enough. And like you said, it does feel like every now and then she gets a moment to fight against it, but she can't because it's baked in.
I mean, you think I can't talk like you? Oh, Peter, I absolutely love what you've done with the place. It's so sterile, so bland, so wonderful.
See, you can do it.
Oh, you like that, huh? Well, you can kiss my natural black ass, because I don't need your approval.
Oh, she don't need your approval.
Hey, you don't think I compromise the way I act? You think I like walking around like an uptight hunky? Yes, I know your lingo.
But, right, and when I'm saying like she's trying to fight against it, it's this movie is trying to tell you, oh no, it's fine because she's standing up for herself. It's fine that this is happening because she's standing up for herself and she's actually smart. But it's not delivering on that because it's allowing all these people to behave in these ways, and there's no, comeuppance for them. There's no real moment. I mean, there might be like, they give Eugene Levy the moment to be like,
right.
It's don't talk to her that way. I love her. And it's like, you get the moment.
Right.
Like you're the one that's like having to stand up for her. Like, what the fuck? Yeah, it's a bad movie.
It's a really bad movie. Was there anything else that you saw that was maybe not quite up to your standards?
Oh my God. Joyful Noise.
Noise is so bad. I genuinely, I'm so sorry. I know and trust me, I watched Supergirl. I have watched Smash. I do not get Jeremy Jordan. I do not get it. The man cannot act, and he's a great voice. He's got a nice little voice.
Yes,
he's
great voice.
Looking real handsome in that newsy cap, but like,
yeah, I don't know if I have too many feelings about him as an actor. I just know that this movie as a total thing, it either needed to be like more campy and more like kind of like go with the Dolly Parton of it all, or like literally just be a Christian movie and stop trying to like edge it up. Like this movie just suffers from like it's literally Pitch Perfect, except we can't be like boring Christian songs. We need to like have fun, modern pop songs.
Which is funny that I think Pitch Perfect is a good example. My example was going to be, it's Glee for a religious channel. Like that's what it felt, and right. This was supposed to be Dolly Parton's big comeback and just fizzled right out.
No.
And she's, once again, I love Dolly, and she gets some good songs in there. So like, I can't.
She has some good lines also, but the overall story is bonkers. And, if you're going to have something in your movie called the Joyful Noise National Regional Finals, just lean in, honey.
Yeah.
Well, I am who I am.
Maybe you were 5 procedures ago. Now you whoever you need to be to make everybody love you. Oh, Gigi's so larger than life. Well, it pisses me off.
You want to know what pisses me off?
Not particularly.
You are going to hear it. It is your holier than thou, pious, rigid self-righteousness. Who gives rat's ass if I've had a few little nips and tucks? God didn't make plastic surgeons so they could starve.
We talked about Mad Money in our Dan Keaton episode. Yeah. That movie sucks.
Yeah, it's so boring. I mentioned House of Bodies earlier. House of Bodies is a very low-budge horror movie that she executive produced, and also plays a very small role as, I think, an internet nurse. I don't really understand her function in the movie other than it was shot over. Her scenes were definitely shot like over Skype and like maybe with like one camera, but it's I'll give it a compliment. It's like a breezy 80 minutes.
There you go. Yeah. There you go. The editing was tight.
Yeah. I mean, it's not editing. It just, I don't want to give any compliments to the editing. It's short.
They ran out.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, let's move into our 5-star reviews. My 5-star review goes to 2015's Bessie. It has all the parts to make a great Queen Latifah performance. There's music, there is and again, like I think when I saw Chicago, I was like, you know what? Maybe she just really looks good in that 20s kind of like costuming.
Yeah, with that headband and that like little flower on the side. And
yeah, she makes such a good like kind of flappery type woman. But yeah, Bessie, you know, and I read that she auditioned for Bessie in 1994.
Yeah.
This movie had been in developmental hell for, you know, a decade. And it wasn't until she finally was able to...
I mean, the screenplay goes back even further than that. Horton Foote wrote the original screenplay. So, yeah,
he died before it came out,
yeah,
right?
Exactly. So, yeah, it is... The press release claimed it was 22 years in the making. So...
Wow. And you know, I think a lot of that has to do with Queen Latifah and her power as a businesswoman. She was able to get HBO on board, and you know, and she was the one who brought on Dee Rees to take another shot at the script and direct the movie.
Such a good choice.
And after I watched it, I was like, oh my God, who directed this? And I was like, oh my God, Dee Rees, who I talked about extensively. Was it 2017, 2018 wrap up when we talked about Mudbound?
Yes.
Which was one of my favorite movies of the year. I think she's just so good. Might also know her from Pariah, which I think we talked about in our queer cinema episode.
Yeah, great movie.
I think Dee Rees is like, she has this like spirit and soul about her and is able to tell the stories of especially like the American South in such a tender and loving way. But so Bessie, it's about Bessie Smith, who was, you know, one of she's known as the Empress of the Blues, one of the first most prominent Black American singers. And the movie's kind of like this biography, this biopic. It's pretty standard, I would say. There's a little bit of like flashbacks here and there, but nothing like of consequence.
Yeah, I will admit, like maybe the one disappointment is that it doesn't necessarily play around with the format of the average biopic. I mean, it starts at a concert and
right.
Yeah, like yeah, totally. I
will say though, I kind of liked. I mean, I think some people dinged it because it doesn't really show her. She dies in a car crash pretty early in life, and they don't show any of that. It ends with her, you know, just kind of with her life. I mean, her life story is, you know, she's struggling.
Right.
She meets Ma Rainey, asks her to join her her band of singing and dancing, her show essentially. And Ma Rainey, played by Monique, like we've said, kind of takes her under her wing. And then from there, it's just kind of like showing her, you know, her ups and downs. She's iconically a bisexual woman. And so, you know, Tika Sumpter plays this kind of composite character of women that she had in her life. She was also married to a man.
Yeah.
Played by Michael Williams.
Yeah, who's great.
So good. And so she's married to him, but the entire time they have these flings with whoever they want to. And, you know, they had this like this understanding. And the story is just like how she was fucked over in the music industry, how, you know, she kind of rised again. She was addicted to you know, alcohol. She wants a family. And, you know, she truly was, you know, just Bessie Smith. I mean, one of the founders, the blueprints for American music and rock and roll. And there's this one scene that just like kind of fucking punched me right in the face, and it's just Queen Latifah topless, sitting in front of a mirror, and it's just quiet, and she's thinking about, you know, her career and where it's going and what she's been through, you know, her marriage falling apart. And it's unlike Halle Berry's scene in Swordfish, God help us, but this feels, the intention is to reveal us the true Bessie. You know, she takes off her wig. She is bearing literally her body, her soul to us. And you can, like, the energy from Queen Latifah is just so raw. Beautiful, beautiful moment. And the relationship she has with Ma Rainey, even when they have their falling out and then coming back together, it's just so fun. These two, actually, Queen Latifah and Monique together. The chemistry is like, they're firecrackers. I just love this movie. I was so surprised, and I knew it had gotten a lot of acclaim and love from different, Golden Globes or whatever, blah blah. But the amount of emotion and love in this movie, you can feel her, and it's almost as if like you could feel that she's been wanting to play this woman for 10 plus years. Right. I don't know. I'm sure you have feelings as well.
Well, I would just like to say that my 5-star review is also Bessie. Bessie was one of my favorite films of 2015. It fell just outside of my top 10. I rewatched it for this, and it holds up incredibly well. I will say, I tweeted out when I was watching this how many big screen biopics have we gotten for women of color. Really hasn't been that many, and I would argue that like this is definitely a theatrical quality movie. And,
absolutely.
And like what makes what makes like Johnny Cash more special than Bessie Smith,
right?
But we got that movie, and that won its Academy Awards.
Right. I mean, and that's just because people know, and that's the gag of it all. Like, people know who Johnny Cash is because he's white,
right,
and had the privilege of being heard by the masses. Bessie Smith literally had to, scratch her way to even get on tours, to even get on labels that were black labels. Right. She was a big woman of size. She was queer. She wasn't taking anyone's shit. She was getting stabbed. She was,
right. She was breaking up Klan meetings. And I think one of the other great things about the movie is how unapologetically black it is. One of the famous moments for Bessie Smith is early on in her career. A man holds a brown paper bag up to her and tells her she's too black to perform, in terms of color. And so when she starts her first show, she has her own brown paper bag test in which you have to be darker.
This morning.
That's enough. Clarence, give her the bag test. What you grinning for? You failed. You must be darker than the bag to be in my show. Now get going with your high yellow ass. Next!
Etta Johnson, Bell Buckle, Tennessee.
Bell Buckle, Lord! No yellow bitches. Next!
To see a woman who obviously has been hurt for a long time for the way she looks, to finally have the power and to say, I'm going to, lift up other dark-skinned black people like me. It just... And Queen Latifah is just so good. Again, and it's removing herself also from the person Queen Latifah, the quote Queen Latifah that we know. It's almost like you're seeing Dana, you're seeing Dana acting here. This is not.
It's funny you should mention that as a funny sidebar. I found an interview with her where a guy was asking her, of course it was a guy, like, "Oh, was the nudity uncomfortable?" And she was like, "It's in the script. I knew it was coming. Like, I agreed.
Right.
I agreed to do it." And she's like, "Besides, I'm naked all the time. My friends call me Naked Girl."
That was a very important scene. So it didn't, I just put myself in the place where she was. I didn't really think about, I have to take my clothes off for the scene. My friends call me Naked Girl anyway. I'm always naked. Like, when I leave here, I'm going to go home and I'm taking all this off and I'm going to get naked and get in the mirror. But so it wasn't that part. It was really just about the vulnerability of Bessie at that time. And I think it's one of the most beautiful parts of the movie.
And I feel like because she has that sort of gauzy, like, my private life is private, you don't always get to see that. The other last thing I will say about this movie, because I think you did a beautiful job, and I think her performance is really amazing. And had it been a full theatrical film, she would have definitely been nominated for Best Actress because she deserves it. Bessie Smith's death is complicated. As you mentioned, it was it was actually multiple car crashes. There is a myth around it that says that she was brought to a white hospital and they refused to save her. Other people have said there's no way a specifically black ambulance would have brought her to a white hospital in general, just ever. But Queen Latifah has a no death clause in her contract. And it's because early in her film career, Set It Off, Sphere, The Bone Collector, all these movies she died in.
The movies that when I first started doing movies, I always had these death scenes. And Set It Off, I got killed. And Sphere, I got killed. And apparently I died too well. And then I caught on like, wait a minute. If I die in these movies, I can't be in the sequel.
Yeah.
Get my agent on the phone. We will put a no-die clause in these future movie contracts, so I'll never get a sequel.
This movie is an uplifting love letter, not only to Bessie Smith, but to, like, the Black musical community. Like, and I appreciate that. I mean, there's a scene with Monique when they're reading the reviews about other Black artists, and she's like, there they go again, trying to put us against each other. This isn't for us. And to me, that's the best part. Like, this movie to me feels like this balm, this kind of like, this is going to be a celebration. This is going to be showing Bessie Smith really go through it and, like, you know, fuck up and have issues and problems. But we're going to see her rise again. We're going to see her fall in love again. I think Mike Epps in this movie is very sweet and tender. His performance, again, surprising to me. I was like, didn't know he had it.
She also has a very complicated relationship with her sister, who's played by the amazing Candy Alexander. I love Candy Alexander. Charles S. Dutton plays Pa Rainey. So it's populated with all these great performances, even in smaller roles. It's just a wonderful film. I really can't say enough things about it. Dee Reese is a talent. So
yeah, if you have any HBO things,
there's like 9 streaming services. You can find one. If not, my niece will give you your password.
At Gavin. We'll get it for you. Other things, I think we talked, Chicago truly is very, 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 very,
shockingly
very, very
good. And I just, once again, because I really went in very cynically and was like, no, I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's, I mean, yes, this is like a wonderful, and it's rightly deserved praise as one of the best movie musicals of all time.
Obviously, you mentioned Girls Trip, hilarious, really great in that.
Oh my God.
Yeah, just so funny. And it's so funny because she's not, I mean, it's like her and Jada Pinkett Smith and Regina Hall and the breakout star of the movie, Tiffany Haddish. And the funny thing is I think Queen Latifah's kind of cast as the straight man in the movie. She's kind of the more serious character, the more serious role. But I think the movie really gives everybody their due and lets her do her thing.
No, seriously, for real though. How long has it been since you got that back blown out?
I don't know. 2 years, maybe.
Wait. Since Terrence?
I don't know. I mean, I take a vigorous spin class, I read really intense erotica, and I invested in a very powerful detachable shower head, which has been very good to me, mind you.
Okay, that story just put me in the menopause. You getting some this weekend?
Straight up, you gonna get at least 2 dicks inside of you.
Seeing these 4 Black women who clearly respect each other, have so much fun together as human beings, and letting them just play in, you know, this in this space, and then also bringing in this younger generation of comedic force. Such a pleasure to watch. So yeah, Girls Trip is just so good.
And I will give it a shout out, even though I think it's definitely solidly more towards the 3-star review, but like Last Holiday, charming.
Yeah, so charming. She pulls off. I can't think of too many movies that are able to pull off the higher wire act that it does. But she does it. So yeah, I think that kind of wraps up our picks.
Yeah. So before we move into our fast forward, why don't we do our mixed reviews review?
My 1-star review was 2004's Taxi.
And my 1-star review was 2003's Bringing Down the House. Boo.
My 5-star review was 2015's Bessie.
And my 5-star review was also 2015's Bessie.
Let's get into fast forward.
So what do we have coming up for Queen Latifah? We didn't mention this in our rewind. She also has started a program that she developed in partnership with Procter & Gamble and the Tribeca Film Festival called the Queen Collective. This actually started in 2019. And what it is an attempt to get female filmmakers out there, because obviously female filmmakers make up a very small amount of people that make movies. They also make up a very small amount of people that direct television and direct commercials. And so her goal is to advance these filmmakers.
We've seen the numbers behind what happens when you hire a female director. See the diversity that occurs in the hiring practices behind the lens. And so one person can make a big difference. I can attest to that. Being a person who's gotten to the point in her career where she could decide who was hired and not. I made sure that anyone producing a film for me actively sought a diverse group of people. But if I did not make sure that it was done, then the same people would have been hired again and again and again. And I would have looked out past that camera and seen a bunch of people who did not look like the America I know.
She's giving these young women a chance to get behind the camera, to express their perspective, to put the message out there, because as she has said many times, media is a very powerful thing, and it has the ability to inform, but it also has the ability to corrupt. And it's being able to see your own stories reflected back at you is very important.
Totally. And I think even from like her living single days, she said that she's like, I've never seen someone like me on TV before. I've never seen someone like me on the stage, on the screen before. I mean, she was making music in like late 80s, male-dominated hip-hop, like tough.
From the moment I made the record Ladies First, it wasn't about telling guys, I don't like the way you talking to me, which was true. But it was, I said, let me look at us first. If we're standing next to each other, they have no choice but to treat us the way we're supposed to be treated. It's always about, let's connect with each other. We're stronger in numbers. When we stand up for ourselves, when we connect with each other, the system is going to have to change.
To see her succeed in that realm, and then to cross over into mainstream movies, TV, and now literally the next 4 things on her IMDb page that she's acting in, she's executive producing every single one of them.
The thing that, I mean, she's doing a movie called The Tiger Rising with Catherine McPhee and Dennis Quaid. The thing that I think is the most interesting, or at least what caught my eye, and I knew about this before going into this episode, but she's producing and starring in a TV remake of The Equalizer.
I saw that.
Which I think most people know of as Denzel Washington films, but there was actually an 80s TV series starring a white British guy in the role. And so she's now playing the 3rd iteration of this character on screen. And yeah, I'm kind of into that idea of her playing that, because it's a very badass role. She is they're a very noble character and not a very nice character.
I definitely could take a little bit more of Queen Latifah ass kicking on my screen. I don't think we mentioned this, but she's 50 years old. Still Insane. Looks the same. The woman has not aged at all.
No. Literally, and she started her career at 19, and
and she's a vet. But by the time she was in her like 30s, she was a veteran of the industry. So I mean, it doesn't surprise me looking at this long list of projects that she has going on. And again, it is kind of like I'm a little bit astounded at how well she's been able to navigate this career of hers. You know, she had a little bit of personal drama and hardships when she was very young in the biz, but like since then, you just don't hear a single negative thing about Queen Latifah ever.
And that's what I love about her. She's able to be a positive force for good in this world and to project that and to exude it out. And now it's become part of her mission to help a younger generation, to bring them along and be like, I've had this success, you deserve this success too. And I don't know, it's just a very cool thing that she's able to accomplish. Totally. Is there anything that you think that she hasn't gotten into? Because once again, she's the fucking jack of all trades. So is there anything in her career that you think she hasn't gotten to, being a singer and actor?
I don't know. I think she's very. Here's the key for Queen Latifah to succeed. I think is surrounding her with other people that are on her level, because like looking at something like Girls Trip, comparing it to something like Taxi, clearly like Jimmy Fallon is just like nowhere near, like the chemistry is just not there. It's just not going to work, and there's no spark. Seeing her in something like Chicago, Girls Trip, Hairspray, even like there's just the people that she has this chemistry with that she can really like, I don't know, get that spark and fire going. In something like Bringing Down the House, where it's just like almost like they're leaving her like flapping in the wind, and so I just want to see her to continue to take control of her career and be able to make these things that she wants to make, and if, I mean, God, the amount of goodwill and energy that happened after Girls Trip, I think kind of helped empower that even more. And, we're certainly in a time of this new renaissance of like Black theater and film. And I just love that she's a part of it. And
Absolutely.
She's not only a part of it in front of the screen, but she's a part of it in bringing up the new generation, which is very fucking cool.
The only thing I'll say is, like, I mean, if we could get a Living Single reunion going, I wouldn't hate that.
Would you want to see her in it, starring?
Yeah, I want to see her. I want to find out what happened to her character. I loved her character. I want to. I bet you her magazine's online now.
Mm-hmm.
I bet you it's a digital publication. I think Queen Latifah is just an amazing multi-hyphenate, very talented singer, actress. She's maintained a vast music career. Her last album was released only a couple years ago. So yeah, she's living it up. She's, it's a 90s kind of world. And yeah,
Single. When she starts rapping on it, it's so good.
But I think that's a good place to leave Queen Latifah. Long may she reign.
Yes, Black Rain. Yes, thank you guys for listening. Getting through this pandemic together, protesting together. We really appreciate you guys. Please, interact with us and come visit us on the internet.
Absolutely. You can find us on Twitter at The Mixed Reviews.
We're also on Facebook. Just type in The Mixed Reviews.
You can write us an email at reviewsmixed@gmail.com.
We're also on Instagram, _mixed_reviews.
And if you listen to us and the many ways that you can listen to a podcast, be it Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Play Music, Spotify, we're on all the apps. But if you could, absolutely. If you could write and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, leave us a 5-star review and leave us a little note and we'll read it on the air. If you write a review, it helps us out even more than just rating us, because I did notice we got an extra 5-star review, and thank you so much whoever did that. But write a little thing, even if it's just like 3 words.
Say, Louis, you're so cool. Gavin, meh.
Yeah, mixed on you.
Mixed. Gavin, we're going on a little vacation. Are we not? I think we're taking like a couple 2 weeks off to go on vacation. I think we're all feeling a little, overworked, burnt out from life. This vida loca, if you will, and I will. So you won't hear from us or get a new episode for longer than usual, but we will still be online. Gavin's been posting a lot of fun videos on our Instagram. The clip from Baps made me live, laugh, love Baps even more. So please join us there. And yeah,
and we'll be back in whenever.
A while.
A while.
Thank you guys so much. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bad days at work give you an attitude and you erupt and take it out on me, but that's about enough. You put your hands on me again, I'll put your ass in handcuffs. cuffs. I guess I fell so deep in love, I grew dependency. I was too blind to see just how it was affecting me. All that I knew is you was